Okay everyone, we're going to talk about how to make the pocket for the hoodie. So far I've cut out my pocket, I've cut out my interfacing strips, I have fused my interfacing to the wrong side of my pocket piece, and I have serged the edges of my pocket and so they don't fray. So now what I need to do is I need to flip this over to the right side, move the thread tails out of the way, and I'm going to fold the pocket over to the right side, and I'm going to pin it in place. I'm going to do the same with this side, and you notice if you've cut well that the shape actually lines up with the edge. And really we're only worried about this bottom edge right now. Though you'll notice the top edge also lines up if everything is cut correctly. Okay, once this part is done, your next step is to go to the sewing machine, and the instructions say to sew from 1/4 of an inch along, starting here and along here all the way to the end. You'll want to back stitch here. Now I've already done this on this side, as you can see. So I'm just going to go over to my machine and do this to the other side, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. Okay, our next step, once I've got my edges stitched down on this side and on this side, is to take my fabric shears, and I'm just going to trim this corner a little bit to release some of the fabric that's there, so it's not too thick, which will allow me to flip this to the inside. So this is going to form the edge of our pocket. Now, one of the reasons, even though it doesn't say in the instructions to stitch all the way down, is that you need to hem this, and in order to hem it, you need to hem it 1/4 of an inch, and the 1/4 of an inch seam that you just stitched in now forms a line for you to fold along, which makes your life a little bit easier. So I'm just going to clip those in place. And I'm going to do the same to the other side. Along that 1/4 inch seam that I made. This is where those clips come in super handy. Okay, so once I have that done, my next step is to press these edges down and stitch along the serging to hold this in place, not too far in from the edge, right along the edge, and stitch down the edges of the pockets so that they will stay in place. So I'm going to go back to my machine and do that, and then I will come back and show you the next step. Okay, so now I have stitched down the sides of my pocket, and I'm ready to attach this to the front of my hoodie. So if you look on the front of my hoodie, it's very faint. I'm sorry, I've traced this a long time ago. You'll see a line, which is the top of the pocket. So we're going to line that up with that line along here. So the sides of that I just stitched should line up with the sides there, and we're actually going to pin this in place. And we are going to go over to our regular sewing machine, and we're going to stitch this down using a 1/4 inch seam, which is the edge of your presser foot. All right, so I'm going to go do that, and then I will come back here and we'll do the next step. Okay, so I'm back. I've visited the sewing machine and I have my pocket stitched on. Now it's hard to see in this limited video I have, but it's actually facing up towards the neckline right now. So there's the neck, here's the pocket. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to flip this down here, and it's a good idea to press it in place, and then you're going to stitch again across the top here. And that's to hold it in place nice and tight. pardon me, because I don't want it too tight so it doesn't pull down to the bottom of the sweatshirt, I'm just going to gently pin it right now so it stays in place. The other part that I'm going to stitch down at this point is the sides of my pocket, right down here. Okay, so I will see you back here in a little while. Okay, so now you can see that everything is now top stitched down and I have a nice kangaroo pocket. I just need to clip some thread so it doesn't look super ugly, and I'm ready to move on with the rest of my hoodie.